Hey, Oscar, can you hear me? Hey, dude.
I hear you.
Is Catherine up yet?
Yeah, she's up. I spoke with her. I think she just went to go like put some makeup on and just she said that one of her apps weren't working, so she was gonna see what's going on with that. But she's up. See your screen. I see it in edit mode. I see your Teams. Still okay. You're good. One more day,
I know.
and then we'll be done with this conference.
This is an ESRI. This is an ESRI session, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
25 minutes. But as you recall, you can probably go a little bit over. No one really complains.
Yeah, I'm just gonna do the intro. Boom. Okay, you can see it all right.
Yeah, perfect. I see it in presenting mode, and I don't see your notes, so it looks good.
Cool. They probably can hear us already, right? That's
Individuals can, but from what I see, no one's on besides me and you.
okay. I sure hope we have somebody attend.
It's prime time in Central Europe,
Yeah.
so it we should get attendees. I wonder what's going on right now. Currently, things should be wrapping up.
Did you go to bed or did you stay up?
I stayed up. There was no point. I was like, I'm not gonna fall asleep. 'Cause I usually fall asleep around like 10 or 11. So why would I do this to myself and just knock out? And
Yeah.
then I'd be more afraid of falling asleep and not waking up than I would be falling asleep just to get like an hour or two of rest. Stages. Oh, keynote is happening right now. How long is this keynote though? Yeah. What do you call it? Tim Hodson did a really good job on his thing too.
He's really good. He did a great job.
And how like he just does his demos and GIFs on the existing slides.
Yeah. I want his slides.
Yeah. Oh, look at me once they send us the recordings, I could just crop his out and just host it up. He probably has them, but just have them presented like that. I could just screenshot them.
We could put all those on a OneDrive file too that everybody could have.
Hmm. Yeah, that'd
Well,
be pretty
yesterday,
good. That'd be pretty good to like have or like for like to have at a conference. Just have it just in loop, right? Have it on the
yeah,
screen.
yeah, yesterday morning it took me a half an hour to get my computer up and running. The battery was totally flat. Had to install updates. It was awful. If it was that was today, I'd be screwed.
Yeah, as long as you're connected to a power source. Is it like that where you just have to be connected?
Yeah, and what happened was the if I don't shut my computer, put my computer into sleep, and I flip my light switch off, the power goes off on the computer. It's a pain in the ass.
So we have a few people on right now.
All right, cool.
Let me ping Catherine.
Yeah, what time did you send me that text?
Like 10 minutes ago. I didn't send it to you. Like, hey, you make sure to wake up? I sent it. See, 31. About yeah, like about 10 minutes ago.
Okay, my alarm was set for 3:30.
All right, Catherine's on. So can you admit her, or
I don't see anywhere.
you don't see her on the moderation panel?
I don't have a. Oh, there we go. Let's see, moderation panel.
Ah, sweet.
Oh, there she is.
Hey,
Hey, good morning.
good morning.
All right. Well, we're a minute away. I'm gonna go ahead and leave this session just so that it's just you and Brent. I mean Brent. So it's just you and Catherine on screen. Good luck.
Okay, thanks.
I'll be attending it as an attendee though, so I'll be on.
Okay, and go ahead and paste the links during the presentation if you would, please, Oscar.
Will do.
Thank you.
All right. Later.
See ya. Well, while we're getting ready, can you see my screen okay, Catherine?
Looks good to me.
Okay, yeah. I'll go for 10, 12 minutes or so, and then we'll pass. And see, we still have some people joining. So, all right. Can somebody in the chat just put a thumbs up or say, hey, you can hear us all right? That would be helpful.
Thank you.
All right. Hey, thanks, Becca. How you doing over there? My brother moved to Emelina, and he's not there at the moment, but he certainly sends me daily emails on how much daylight there is right now. I think it's like 4 hours of darkness or something like that, something crazy. So
A lot.
a lot, yeah. Yeah, well, I texted him back the daylight calendar for December 21st. So, all right, well, thanks, Beck. I really appreciate it. Nice to have you on. Um, we'll go ahead and get started. There's still some people dribbling in, but that's okay. If you're here for the Valuation GIS session, you're in the right one. If you're not, go ahead and find another session. This is going to be fairly basic. I'm going to talk a little bit about the platform and then get into some details. I'm Brent Jones. I'm the industry manager for land administration with ESRI. I'm with Catherine Smythe, who is a solution engineer who is digging deep into some of the different areas of using GIS for valuation. A lot of agencies, organizations use GIS for visualization, but Catherine's actually doing some pretty deep analytics, and it's going to be she's going to tell us how to get started with it. Like I mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about land. What is ArcGIS? So we have a bit of a framework to understand how we apply GIS technology to land administration in the three key areas of parcel management, valuation, stakeholder engagement. Although we're only going to talk about valuation. There are other sessions on parcel management. I think it's tomorrow. There is hands-on workshop on the parcel fabric. If you're interested in parcel management and cadastre using your GIS, that's certainly one to attend. Though I'll have a few resources, and don't worry about capturing the screen. Once Catherine picks up, we'll paste some of those in the chat window for you. And she's going to go through a nice story map that we can share with you as well, so you can have those resources to keep. We look at land administration as a very broad industry of managing ownership, value, planning and development, and land management. And GIS contains 3 key systems that helps address those areas, and it does it all with the same technology, with no need to have separate systems, no need to have separate technology. ArcGIS helps you manage data. It helps you collect data. Obviously, the mapping and visualization tools that we're all accustomed to at GIS, but it also includes a lot of content, imagery, base maps, and what Catherine can help us with is show us the content, the additional information we can add from other national data sets to improve valuation. It includes a whole set of tools for analytics. We're only going to show a few of those. It's a sharing and collaboration platform, and it works in the cloud and as a SaaS solution. It has APIs that allow us to connect other systems, helping you keep all your systems modern and current, and obviously necessary in today's cybersecurity environment for security protocols. It's convenient to think of the 3 major systems in land administration and how ArcGIS supports each one of those. There's a system of record.
Brent, I don't mean
Yeah.
to cut you off, but are your slides aren't changing. I don't know if you're changing them.
Yeah, you don't see enterprise platform?
No, I still see the FIG splash screen.
Oh, mine are changing here. What's going on? Because I see them on the screen.
Interesting. Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe it's mine. Okay, I'm gonna hop out and hop back in. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks, Catherine.
Thanks, everybody. Sorry about that. Sorry, Brent.
Okay. Hey, thanks, Anthony. I think the issue is with Catherine. I think it's a okay. So we have these 3 systems: a system of record, which is what we manage national data sets, state data sets. We have a system of insight, the analytics of what we're doing and the analytics applied against the data that we're collecting, and that's what we'll talk about today. And then the system of engagement, how we share information internally and externally as well. So it's also convenient to think of these 3 systems as parcel management is the system of record, stakeholder engagement, how we maintain public trust and confidence, and how we share that information broadly and use the information, not just sharing it, but sharing services and applications. And then value analysis, which is where we actually do the analytics. And that's what we're talking about today. ArcGIS it's a whole infrastructure. It's a whole geospatial infrastructure of content, applications, APIs, and it allows GIS professionals to do their work. But we're not all GIS professionals. Many of us are valuers. We have staff in the field. We have people making maps, making cadastral maps, making topographic maps. We use this. We have modelers and data scientists that take this data, and that's what we're going to talk about today as well. We share this data with public officials for policy making, and then again, stakeholder engagement. Importantly, particularly in valuation, ArcGIS works with all types of data. You can get unstructured and tabular data, LiDAR, terrain, imagery, voxels, vector, 3D, all types of data. We're going to be talking mostly about property characteristics and location and the information and the data that impacts value based on location. This is really important. because it takes all types of data and abstracts that into the platform where we share that data back out into apps. So, for example, again, there's the GIS professional, but we're not all GIS professionals. We want to share that data and use that data in apps in the field. We want to have all the data in the field that we have in the office. We want to have analytical apps that help us quickly understand trends and patterns. Some people want to view. We have engagement apps that can be structured for real estate professionals, or they can be structured for the public and very simply configured. And Catherine's presentation was going to be in a story map, so you'll see how those function. And of course, dashboards. Maybe we want to look at year-in-year valuation changes. And I don't know about where you all are in the rest of the world, but in the United States, residential values are rapidly increasing, while there's a lot of downward pressure on commercial properties because of coronavirus and work from home. There are a lot of challenges in benefits using GIS for valuation, and there are a lot of general challenges that we all share. We have to maintain the trust of the public. That's kind of the cornerstone of doing good work and doing in government function. We have a lot of business systems that are often out of sync. Keeping them current, as I mentioned earlier, is critical for cyber resilience. Keeping our data current, that's a challenge. And we want to minimize challenges to our valuations, and we want to have tools to improve our defense. Many countries have transparency requirements. We want to reduce what we call counter traffic, people coming into the office and asking questions and making telephone calls. Where all your parcels may not be mapped, we'd like to reduce counter traffic. Excuse me, we want to make sure all property is mapped so it's equally taxed. Improve quality, increase increased efficiencies. We want good analysis. We want to understand the trends and patterns. We want to be able to share. Some countries, many countries, actually most countries have staffing issues and getting good quality staff. Managing our field work is not just collecting data, but where are they and what are they doing, and getting that information to the office in real time. And what devices are they using? These devices change rapidly. And of course, we want to reduce operational costs. That's always a pressure. There's built-in capabilities into ArcGIS that are just part of the core system that are configured and useful and used in valuation. Obviously, the spatial modeling analysis, but parcel mapping, we talked a little bit about that. Understanding and visualizing information like the taxable property value in the lower left-hand corner, and integration with computer-assisted mass appraisal systems. That term differs around the world, but it's the term for the electronic modeling tools that help us better value. And using data in 3D and understanding 3D. Catherine's going to talk a little bit about exploratory analysis because sometimes you just want to start looking at your data and thinking about different types of analysis to see what your data is actually trying to tell you. There's some special tools for modeling. There's geographic weighted regression. We all know that location is what they say about real estate. So if you're not using location in your values, in your value calculations, then you're missing out on a significant portion of your data. There's force-based classification regression, which is a machine learning algorithm. There's kriging, which many valuers call surface response modeling, multi-bivariate calculations, spatial interpolation, clustering, outlier detections. It's a long list, and we're only going to go through a few of those today. But where we see a lot of growth is in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and deep learning. You can take your data sets and you can train data and use CNTX. You can use IBM Watson. You can use many of the AI engines out there. And you can extract information from your imagery. We've done a few pilot projects doing some very interesting things. Some simple things like extracting features, for example, swimming pools. We've done some work trying to extract occupation lines based on land use, and depending on the type of land cover, we have mixed results with that. Catherine's actually done some work looking at assessing conditions of properties from street level imagery. We have an application you can drive at normal speeds and collect street level imagery at high accuracy with some pretty inexpensive cameras and have those drop right into your GIS. And there's specific configurations of applications like the value analysis dashboard uh, to quickly configure your GIS for some valuation capabilities. Everyone uses Maps for Office, and there's a plugin so you can use Excel in Maps for Office. There's a BI tool called Insights, which is actually very interesting. We have some configurations for sales ratio analysis and outlier detection coming out on that very soon. And there's also some built-in data depending on which country you live in, determines how much data is actually in the application. If these things are really interesting, there's a really nice book that the International Association of Assessing Officials published that goes through the different uses of GIS. This is available. It's like $15 US or something like that, and it's well worth it if you're getting started with GIS and valuation. We'll paste these in the chat window after I'm finished, but we have a Meetup, and Meetup is a platform for collaboration and discussion. Essentially it's a very informal webinar where we get into the details, and we don't spend a lot of time on the formalities and the polish, but we take your questions and we dig deep and try to get right into the meat of things. And we have one for assessors, and we also have one for Parcel Fabric. And if you are interested in Parcel Fabric, I think we have I think it's tomorrow. We have a very detailed session on the Parcel Fabric. So if you're interested in that, please attend. That's an advancement in GIS that we have quite an investment in. All the past meetups are recorded in the ESRI community, and here's links for those. There's one for land records, which includes valuation, integration with registry, and many other land records topics. But when it comes to the Parcel Fabric, it's very specific. We have a very large community, several thousand members of the ArcGIS Parcel Fabric community, and all the previous sessions are recorded. So if you're just getting started, there's a lot of links, a lot of valuable information there. And I think I just saw a chat. Someone's interested in the in machine learning, AI. There's a learn lesson that's written there. Oscars can paste that in the window, or I can after I'm finished here. It takes about 45 minutes, but it really gets you started on using AI and getting going with valuation. So I'm going to pass it over to Catherine, and feel free to paste any questions in the chat or in the Q&A session, and we'll get on with the presentation.
Excellent. Thanks, Brent. I'll go ahead and share my screen. If you could confirm that you see it.
Yes, looks good.
Excellent. All right. So for the next few minutes, I'd like to share our valuation journey here at ESRI. There are several tools within our GIS system that can be used to support or achieve an equitable valuation. This is a story map that walks through the beginning phases of how one may begin to look at valuing property within our GIS system. So first off, you know, it's important to understand which type of approach you're going to use. In the case of residential property, what I've been working with anyway has been market or comparison approach. There's also cost and income. These other types are often used for commercial or agricultural properties as well. But in our case, market it is. So the market approach requires 3 different types of data: property characteristics, the sale price of the property, at least of some of them, and the location of the property. But don't worry, if you're missing any of those components in your data already, there are different tools that we can use that can help. So maybe minus the property sale price part of it, you would want to know what the general value of your property is. Brent mentioned IAAO, or the International Association of Assessing Officers. I have a colleague there that went into more detail around how one may be able to value property using this market or comparison approach without having prior sales, which is basically looking at how people value the homes themselves and taking that into consideration. But for today's purposes, we'll be looking at a larger metropolis. So when I mention property characteristics here, what I'm really talking about are some of the things that are common across everywhere that people live, right? Which every building has an area to it. Normally, there are different rooms for different purposes. We want to capture that type of information in addition to reflecting some of the location or spatial property characteristics that may influence price as well. For example, if I live in a warmer climate, I'm not going to be as driven to buy a house with a fireplace. Or if I live in a cold climate, I may not be as interested in having a courtyard. But these may be things that influence sale price positively in the places where location comes into play, right? So the first thing that you need to really start out with using ArcGIS and valuation is a map, right? And this plays back into the idea that valuation relies on these property characteristics, and that relies on location. So today we'll be looking at Washington, D.C. And full transparency, I chose Washington, D.C. because they have an excellent data set that's available to the public, and also because I live here. So I can speak a little bit to it. Like many valuers who are doing this every day, I know certain things about my neighborhood or my city that are unique to me, right? So after I have a map, the next step is to identify where the buildings are at or where the property is located. So here I have a polygon showing that information, right? It's pretty simple. This could also be a building footprint. And we'll look at a few different ways to gather building footprints in a second. But for our purposes, I have an excellent parcel data set. I know this isn't the case for everybody, but that's okay, right? It's all part of building out the different data sets that could help improve your valuation over time. So along with this geometry and the location that I put on the map, when I select my parcel, I can see all of those property characteristics that we were discussing before. So in my case, I'm looking at the area of the home, the number of bathrooms, the number of bedrooms, the number of stories that it has, so floors, and a condition rating. And there at the end, I have my sale price. All of this information can just be joined up with your location data. I know that a lot of people have this type of information already in an Excel file or some sort of spreadsheet. That's not a problem as long as you have a common identifier. Up here, you can see the ID for my parcel. So you know, one of the themes here is that when I'm looking for an equitable valuation, I'm not just looking at one parcel or even the different parcels next to each other, right, in a small group. I may be looking at a valuation neighborhood. In this case, this is one neighborhood of over 30 that Washington, D.C. has. And by breaking down these areas into neighborhoods, then that allows me to compare houses that have similarities. So one house in this neighborhood, it may have certain characteristics that make it more valuable, like proximity to downtown or the park, than something on the other side of town. We'll explore that in a second. So here are all of the different valuation neighborhoods in DC. As I said, there are over 30. So I mentioned that there are different ways of getting location for your properties. Here, this is a blog post that can be used just as a frame of reference. We have a number of deep learning models and tools that are going to be coming out in our SaaS solution, our GIS Online. They're out there now. You can use them in our desktop software. I've used this model for both detecting buildings, but also it could be used for change detection. So here's just an example. You need to have a fairly decent imagery, I'd say 30 centimeter or better, in order to really get accurate results here. It really depends on what you're going for. For valuation, maybe it doesn't have to be as accurate. But you can see we've picked up the location of individual houses. So for our purposes, we're good with that. So I'll flip back here to my story map. All of this information will be given in this format so that you can explore it later, by the way. So I have these GeoAI tools. I'm getting the location together, but maybe I need more property characteristics. We have something called the Living Atlas of the World, which is an excellent resource for exploring different data types. In this case, maybe I'm interested in adding some income data. I can search the Living Atlas to understand all of the different data sets that are available to me. Of course, I'm located in the US right now, so I'm getting a whole lot of US data sets, but I can filter by regions here and my country. We have authoritative content for several countries. So I can also, in addition to taking that Living Atlas data and enriching my existing locational data with it, I can use geo-enrichment. And that's really the idea of bringing together geography and locations of other things that I think may impact the property value of my properties, right? So in this case, we're looking at the different locations of metro stops around our neighborhood, right? And the map is showing walking distance for each property to each of those metro stations. So it just chooses the nearest one and gives you the walking distance. I've added that distance via a geoprocessing tool to my spreadsheet data, if you think of it that way, to my list of property characteristics that I can then later put into an analysis, right, to understand if there is an impact of walking distance to the metro. Spoiler, there was not in this case, which I thought was really interesting. So that brings me to spatial analysis and modeling. I have my location, I have my sale price, or at least a few sale prices, maybe more than half of the buildings, and it also depends on the scale that you're looking at. So if you're just looking at the sales in the last year, you're going to have fewer. That's okay. This is all an iterative process, and we have tools that help understand the accuracy as you model. What does that mean? Okay, so there are several tools. I'll back up a minute here and just talk about that creation of valuation neighborhoods, right? So we've been looking at neighborhood 39. In this case, I've used a tool. We're looking at the results of this tool called spatially constrained multivariate clustering. What does that mean? It means I put in all of my different property characteristics into the tool, and it's showing me all of the properties that are alike. So it disagrees with my initial neighborhood analysis. That's okay. That could tell me something that I could use in the future as a valuer. I can also choose to keep things the same. Different places have different criteria for their valuation neighborhood. And there's a certain level of personal expertise that goes into creating those. If you don't have that, though, spatially constrained multivariate clustering can definitely help you out. Then there's also charts that can help me understand the relationship between my property characteristics and my sale price. It may be a little hard to see here. I apologize for that, but I have my sale price here, and I can see the R squared, or the between my property characteristic condition and sale price, is 0.28. I may be looking for something a little higher in reality, but for my proof of concept, that just let me know condition is the main influencer. But also notice in this chart, I do not have the square footage of the actual property, which would probably have the most impact. Now, finally, back to our discussion about having all of those different types of data, right? So I have my location, I have my sale price, I have my property characteristics. Now what I'd like to do is use a tool called forest-based classification and regression that can do a few different things, right? This is a machine learning tool. So the first thing I have to do is train the tool. And I'm going to use the different properties that I have with the sale price in order to train it, because that is allowing the tool to understand which property characteristics have influenced sale the most. So here, again, an output is another chart that the tool creates saying condition, heat type, and the number of bathrooms are influencing the sale price more than others, right? Whereas fireplaces, not as much, number of bedrooms, not as much in this case. If I start seeing trends across my valuation area here, then I may be able to eliminate or streamline some of the different property characteristics that I'm collecting for. So I've trained my model, I know all of this information. Now I'll take that trained model and I can apply it to all of the properties in the region and predict the sale price, which further enables me to compare it to my existing assessment to make sure that my values are equitable. And next I can go through, I know I'm going over a few minutes. Bear with me, I'll be done in less than 5. So here I have a number of different properties within my neighborhood, and I'm able to explore this information in a more heads-up way. So if I just want to see the good properties, for example, this is my condition, then I can select that here and you can see it queries the map. So these are the very good properties. I can also visualize sales by month. So I just want to see the houses that sold in July. Or I can see different charts that show me the most popular months for sales in my area. I can also see what property sales are doing over time. I have data here that's going back to 1998, right? So I can see the number of sales has grown a lot in my neighborhood. I can also see that similar relationship between the property characteristics and the sale price here, as well as the sale price by month year over year. I think this one is particularly interesting as, you know, I can definitely get a feel for the different trends in that neighborhood. So say that you want to augment the existing property characteristics that you have, we have several different tools that can also be used for field data collection. Or maybe you'd like to update some of the property characteristics. Maybe you're not sure how many bedrooms or bathrooms are in your property, and you want to be able to go on site and have appraisers or someone like that take measurements and really fill out your idea of the home. We have two different options here. One is field maps, which enables a map-centric field data collection. You can use the locations that you already have and just update the property characteristics in that. Or Survey 123, which can be a more form-centric way of collecting that information. Still tied to your geometry, but updating in a more form-centric way, as I said. So finally, all of this can culminate in transparency, right? What we're finding in a lot of places is that people really are interested in understanding how their properties are valued, especially when they're being taxed on them. So we've created this equitable property value hub. And this is a template that can just be stood up out of the box. This is exactly what it looks like. I have accepted everything as it has been out of the box. So here we have a few recommendations, right? So maybe putting some information about how property is valued in your area, a tax liability calculator that's live so people can go in and understand what their assessed value may be and what their estimated tax per year may be. There are also several applications that can support people understanding what's going on in their neighborhoods. My favorite here, I'll open up real fast, is this equitable property value comp finder. So this enables us just to go in and look at different data sets. I apologize that I'm not zoomed in to the place where I want to be. And since we're running out of time, I'll just skip this. But you can explore all of this on your own inside of the story map. So there's also ways to share data and events. And finally, Brent mentioned that we've used machine learning to create a data-driven valuation model. Here's a link to that Learn lesson that can take you through step-by-step all of those different facets of our modeling capabilities and tools within the ArcGIS system that I mentioned throughout this. All right, I know I've gone over. I think I kept myself to only 5 minutes over. I'm happy to stick around and chat a little bit more or answer questions, but thank you so much for attending our session. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. I'm happy to talk more about this with anyone. Thanks.
All right, Catherine, thanks. That was really good. I'm going to paste my email in there. If you'd paste yours in there as well.
Yeah, sure.
Just so they can have it, even when the platform goes down. The Q&A is disabled, so we can't get questions. But I'm looking in chat, and I think Oscar's been pasting links in there the entire time. I paste your story map in also.
Oh, okay.
Hey, no problem, no problem.
Excellent.
Yeah, so if there are any more questions, I'd like to thank everybody for attending, and please connect with us either through the platform or offline at any time if you have any questions. And if you go to the exhibition and click on the ESRI link and scroll down a little bit, you'll see all the other GIS sessions that are available for the rest of the conference. And with that, we'll close, and I'll thank you for your attendance, and of course, thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.